All right, everybody. Well, we're welcoming Emily Durgin back to Durgin.
Yes.
I always do that. Okay. All right, everybody. We are welcoming Emily Durgin back to the show. Welcome back, Emily.
Yeah, good morning. Thanks for having me back.
So exciting. I feel like so many things in your world have changed, and you've had such a great summer and fall of racing. So, congratulations.
Thank you so much. It was a really fun summer and it feels nice to just be back in Flagstaff and back working.
Yeah, I was just looking through your Instagram, and I can't believe you've been there for 3 years now.
I know. I can't either. But it's becoming to feel more like home, so that's good.
Yeah. So do you live like, because I noticed you said you came into town to get coffee. So do you live like on the outskirts or in a suburb?
So we live on the east side
Okay.
out toward the Continental Country Club. Yeah, so we have a condo out here, so kind of closer to like the mall area. So it is a little bit removed from town, but it's really nice. It's quiet out here. You kind of have a more like older population, but we love it. And the running around here is perfect. Like out my door, I have so many great trails on the east side, so I love it.
Oh, that's so good. Okay. So where do we start? There are so many ways to go. When we first talked, you had pretty recently signed with Under Armour. You had a new contract with them. It was your first real professional running contract. Since then, you have moved on and you signed with Asics. So maybe or not Asics, I'm sorry. Let me say that again. Since then, you've moved on and you've signed with Adidas. So maybe let's start there. What's up with the switch?
Yeah, no, awesome. So really had no idea that a brand change was going to be happening. Had signed with Under Armour in 2019, and then I re-signed during the pandemic in the beginning of 2021. I signed a new contract, like basically through 2024, and then a lot of things happened this year with like the shoes changing and companies being a little more giving leeway to certain athletes to race in other shoes and all that. So basically, Under Armour as a company wasn't able to allow athletes to compete in different brands. So what they ended up doing, working with the agents, they decided to say, hey, if athletes want to compete in a different brand, we'll let them basically like suspend their contract or so that they can run in different brands. Long story short, I had really no intentions of running in other brand shoes. I was really happy with Under Armour and was working with them on building a road shoe, and we were working really close on that. And as for the track, like I knew I was going to be competing in the Olympic trials, but I didn't feel like it was worth it to run in a different brand's shoes because I just didn't think that this wasn't going to be my year, that I was really trying to make an Olympic team. I was just trying to be there for experience. So, yes, so raced in Under Armour and then just continued to run super well. And then, basically brands knew that Under Armour was letting athletes do this. So then that's when Adidas basically reached out to my agent and asked kind of like what my plan was for the future. And it was kind of just a great opportunity that presented itself. So I really couldn't say no to it, especially getting ready to move up to the longer distance, like going to a brand that already has shoes and, is really established. It was really kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity that I really couldn't turn down.
So what did that look like then for Under Armour? They allowed you to then break the contract and move on to Adidas?
Exactly. Yep. So because they allowed, pretty much every athlete to do that, that was kind of like the way that I was able to get out of my contract early. And it's pretty, well known. There's a lot of athletes that that did that. It's unfortunate that Under Armour lost some top athletes, but in a way it also gave them an opportunity to bring in new athletes and kind of rebrand the group. So we have new athletes here in Flagstaff that, some that are just graduating from college, some that have been in the sport for a few years that are signing their first pro deal. So it honestly, it kind of worked out for for both parties in my mind, and I think that Under Armour would agree.
So, okay, my question is, I have a couple questions about shoes and your thoughts on that. But first of
Yeah.
all, is the Dark Sky group, because I know Shayla moved on, is the Dark Sky group still a thing?
Yeah, yep. So it is still a thing. They kind of are in the process. You should probably see here in the next couple weeks that they're basically have rebranded the group. They've brought in a bunch of new women and men. So Sharon is still part of that group.
Okay.
She's actually home right now for a little bit, but yeah, they signed actually one of the members is staying with me, Holly Archer, and she's from the UK. So
Oh, cool.
1500 meters. Yeah, so now she's with them, and Matt Yano, marathoner.
Yep.
So yeah, they still have some of the core people, and then they added a few recent college grads. So you'll be seeing kind of an announcement very soon. So yeah, Stephen Haas is still leading that and working super hard to continue to build that group. And I'm still very close, obviously, with Stephen. He's my agent.
Yeah, I
but
thought he
also
was.
with the people that I worked with at Under Armour. So I know that they, have invested a lot of time and money into the group, and it's going to continue to develop over the next few years. And obviously I was sad to leave it, but it kind of was like a business decision more than anything.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It sounds like you left in a really healthy way, considering Steven was coaching the group, is coaching the group. He's your agent. Adidas comes to your agent who's in charge of this Under Armour group, and
Right.
you're able to like make this in a really clean and healthy way. It seems like, I don't know. I don't know if it happens that healthy all the time,
Yeah, I mean, I felt super fortunate with the way that, my agent has handled everything. And at the end of the day, like, they're looking out for the athlete's best interest long term, financially. So while he was my coach and kind of trying to form this Dark Sky group, he knew that, like, okay, like, first and foremost, I'm representing these athletes in their life, like, for their career. So he was really honest about that. And we kind of, had to take some time and talk about it and say, is this worth it? Is it a good opportunity to do this? And it ended up being the best situation for me. And I'm sure if it was a different situation for different athletes, he would handle it the same way. So I do feel very fortunate that it was kind of a clean switch. And yeah, because you're right. I think that sometimes it can be a little bit more difficult, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, sounds like he's really a stand-up guy. I've actually never met him, but it just makes me think, like, I don't know, if you're trying to build this group and then Emily starts having like all these amazing races, did really
Right.
well at the Olympic trials. I mean, I know you said your ultimate goal wasn't necessarily to make the team this year, but ninth place, that's a really good showing,
Yeah.
So I feel like you'd selfishly want to be like, I want her on my team,
Right.
But the fact that
Right.
he truly was like, no, for her best interest, financially, longevity in the sport, shoe technology, all the things, this is where she needs to go. So I'm so happy that you had that experience.
Yeah, thank you. And and like I said, it was something that kind of happened like all of a sudden, and I had no idea like that it was going to even be an option. So it kind of happened very, very quickly, and but also I knew it was the right move. So yeah, here we are now, and like I said, the group is still growing, and I get to see the shoes and how they're kind of continuing, because obviously I was working so closely with the shoe team for so long, and then they've continued to kind of improve the racing flats, and I've got to see how that's been developing with Under Armour, and it's really cool because they are continuing to move forward, which I always knew they were going to do, of course.
So okay, with shoe technology, I don't talk about it a ton because I think it's kind of boring. But I've heard people, like, for instance, I've heard like Ryan Hall on a podcast talk about like how those old American records, like, they're always going to be like super notable and important, marks in history. For instance, I'll just bring up Dina Castor's American record of 2:19 in the marathon, right? Well, when somebody finally breaks that American record, it's going to be with like so much shoe technology advancement from when she ran it. So there's almost like a before and after, right? So
Right.
I'm so curious because this was one of the big reasons you moved to Adidas. Like, how much of a difference does it really make?
I know. Well, I, in a way, I was a little naive because I had never run in a super shoe. Yeah. So, I mean, my first, it's kind of funny. Like, I signed with Adidas, and then the first race that I even ran, like, was the Peachtree, and I was the first time I had run. And at this time, it was like the old Adios Pros, like before the new ones even came out, and yeah, I mean, obviously I ran super well in that race, but I also was very fit as too. So I mean, the shoes definitely play some part into it. How much of like like seconds and all this, I have no idea. I
Yeah.
think it really depends on person to person. Was I going to make an Olympic team if I was in like the dragonflies at the trials? No, I wasn't. So I just don't. I don't quite know what it's, we could kind of talk mathematically, but it's really just varies person to person. But I do find that the biggest thing is with these the new shoe technology is more of like the recovery and being able to almost like train harder. You can do harder sessions and not feel so beat up the next day. So I think the benefit is more coming from the training side than it is actually like racing in them, personally.
Okay. Cleared that up if anybody's
Yeah.
wondering. It's so funny. I always just think it's funny when I see like so many everyday runners wearing like alpha flies. I've like literally never worn a shoe like that, and I just can't.
Yes.
I can't imagine throwing all my eggs into that, like so many eggs into that basket as like an amateur runner. But I guess if I guess as an amateur runner, if I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to break 3 hours in the marathon, I would do every single little step I possibly could to make that difference.
Oh, for sure. And at the end of the day, like, I mean, our sport is, I mean, 50% physical, 50% mental. I think it's that much mental. I mean, we're all training hard. Like, we're all doing the same stuff. But, like, it really comes down to, standing on that line and, like, just being confident in what you're wearing on your feet, what you look like physically, whether, just being happy with yourself. And I think a lot of that is the mental side of things, that if you're wearing shoes that like make you feel good, you're going to run well. So yeah, I think that it also can be quite mental with the footwear.
Well, I mean, that's so true too. I mean, it's so like basic, but that's what people say. They're like, if you look good, feel good,
Right.
get a good race
Exactly.
outfit, get you a nice kit, and you feel, put a little bit of makeup on, get your hair up
Yeah,
nice, you feel good.
exactly. So yeah, I do think we're all at the end of the day, I mean, us, the top distance runners in the US are all doing relatively the same thing. And on race day, it's just who feels more confident and who trusts themselves the most. So yeah.
So you were feeling confident this summer. You have 4 top 3 finishes at US Road Champs, a half marathon PR, ninth at the Olympic trials in the 10,000. What led to this confidence? What led to this shift? Just years of training? Tell us all the things. What was your mental game?
Yeah, I'm not really sure where the shift happened. I mean, I think it was beginning of 2021 when I went out to Las Vegas and ran that half marathon with Sarah Pagano and Molly Seidel. And then Sarah Pagano's fiance actually paced us. And it's funny now because now I'm being coached by Terrance, and Sarah Pagano will be like one of my training partners. And I remember being there and her saying like, "Oh, we're gonna run 5:20 pace. Like Reed's gonna pace us for that. Like you should just run with us." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, that seems like really fast." And that was the time that Shayla was overseeing all my workouts, and her and Steven were coaching me. So I remember texting her and she said, "Go with it. Like, what you've been doing and training, like that makes sense." So I think that was kind of the shift. And it's funny because people that watched that race, like I remember at the time I was also training with Ali Kiefer, and she was the one that also said that I could run a half marathon in sub 70, and because she had seen my training. And I remember after the race, she's like, "It was fun watching you because we could see you like commit to the pace, then get a little nervous, and you kind of would back off, and then she's like, you would like go back on the pace." And I really think that race is probably where the turning point was. And just having so many people around me see my training and like just telling me to commit to it and just see what happens. And then being able to come away with a really big PR. I think that's what gave me the confidence and kind of like that I was like, all right, my training's working. Let's continue to go after these fast times and run with these top women, and not kind of put myself in like the middle or the back of the pack, but really put myself in the front of the race. And then kind of from then on out, that's what I did. And certain races, obviously I felt better than others. And yeah, but that was definitely, I think, the turning point. And most of people that were watching me closely and training saw that that's kind of where I shifted more of that confidence.
What was your final time for that race?
I know it was 69:49, I believe.
Yeah.
Something like 47, 40, I don't know, somewhere in the high 40s. Yeah.
So yeah, 69, 47, 49, whatever it was. It's like breaking that 70-minute barrier. Did you feel like,
Yeah,
oh, this gets me to another level?
for sure. For sure. I mean, that me and Sarah running the sub 70, put us in the top 16 US times ever. So that was really cool. Now we're in the same ball group with Molly and with Shalane and with Emily Sisson and Molly Huddle. We're in that like range now. And Sarah Hall. So it was just really cool to finally be like, okay, like, like we can do this. So that was exciting. So I'm excited to train for another half and get to try to even go faster.
Yeah. What was it like training with Allie Kiefer?
Oh, she was so awesome. Yeah, I don't know if she's coming back or not, but last winter we spent a lot of time together. She kind of just was like jumping in and out of our sessions, and came down to Scottsdale for some track workouts. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun because I also had looked up to her for years. She was someone that used to like kick my butt. So then training with her also gave me the confidence, because she was very like, okay, like when I was doing these workouts is when I was in my best shape. And yeah, so it was just cool to be able to run and train with someone that had done things that I wanted to do. Yeah, so I hope she comes back maybe this winter. I know she's out in Texas right now and getting back in a good groove.
That's awesome. So Peachtree, you got second place. You shared the podium with Sarah Hall and Annie Frisbee, which, tell me, did her debut at the New York City Marathon make you like a little bit excited to run a marathon someday?
Yeah. Not surprised at all. I was actually messaging with my dad during it, and I was like, like, watch out for Annie, like she's gonna do well. So him and I had both, because I didn't really know Annie that well. She's quite a bit younger, not quite a bit younger, but I think she's like not even 24 yet.
Wow.
So I'm pretty sure. So yeah, she was like a little bit before me in college. So I didn't know her super well, but I knew she was coached by Andrea Grove McDonough, who I was coached by for a year at UConn.
Okay.
So yeah, that connection. And then I remember like, yeah, after that Peachtree race, like meeting her and her kind of telling me her summer of racing, she was getting healthy and getting ready for New York Marathon. And then just following her all summer, I knew that she was going to have a great marathon debut, just with, having fun this summer and running those shorter races, but also getting the mileage in, just like talking with her at the past few races we were in together. I knew she was going to do something great, but that was like, I mean, her time on New York, and putting herself in that front, like, yes, it definitely made me be like, wow, this makes me excited for my first one for sure.
Yeah, it was interesting to see her like up front like that. But I mean, I feel like she was probably like, okay, like, nobody else is leading. We're all running the same pace here. And I noticed the top 3 Africans who finished were like kind of nestled back. And then at 17, they were like, okay, we're going to make our move now. And then she kind of the winner kind of laid the hammer down again at the very end. She was just like, see you later. But
right.
I imagine for your first marathon, that would be intimidating, because you're like with everybody, but you're like, why am I leading? But you can't just like jostle around and just like, get yourself out of the front.
Yeah, but going back to like the whole confidence thing, I think she built so much confidence this summer, like running so well in all those US championship races and the other races that she did. I mean, she was a front runner in most of those races as well. Yeah, 10-mile champs. She was leading there. If I remember correctly, seeing some of the clips and then Peachtree with me and Sarah, she was leading with us as well. So I think she built a lot of confidence in those shorter distance races and was running next to these top US women. So then when she got there, she wasn't in unknown territory. She belonged in the front, and that's what it goes back to. It's really cool to see people like her, and I put myself in that same group, that we're kind of building this confidence to look next to us and be like, oh, it's Sarah Hall. Oh, hey, yeah, like this is normal, or like, and that also comes with being out in Flagstaff and training with people like Molly as well. So then when you get into a race, you just are more comfortable running next to these people that don't seem so superhuman as maybe they did a few years ago.
Yeah, and I'm probably going to say this wrong. Was she the third American though?
Yes. So, and then Kellen Taylor was second. So
Yeah.
amazing,
Molly,
amazing for
Kellen,
her.
Annie.
Yep.
Who was after?
Laura.
Laura
I think it was.
Thweet. Yeah, Laura Thweet. Yeah, that is a very very impressive debut in the marathon, let alone like a world marathon major.
Oh, yes. Amazing. Yeah. It's been so fun to watch all of them. And another one, Emma Bates. I actually listened to her podcast with you when I've actually been I was cross training a little bit a few weeks ago, just kind of slowly getting back into fall training. And so I like listening to podcasts when I'm like on
Yeah.
my lips. And she's another one that I got to kind of like see all summer, like running these races, like as part of her training. And it was just so awesome for her to be like, I'm doing these races to get ready for my big one, and kind of being able to like I remember Falmouth, she's like, I'm trying to run 7 miles at my goal marathon pace.
Mm.
And like her being able to like show up to those races and be like, this is part of the plan, and not getting like caught up in like maybe not being in the front of the race. Like I just admired so much, and like clearly she stuck to the plan and it paid off in the end. And I think that is also her believing in Joe so much. But yeah, it was fun to like get to see her all summer. And like Diane, same thing, they did these races and then they went and did like 13 miles after, but it was their way of like, let's have fun training for these marathons by running these races, but let's not get caught up in like, oh, some of these women that are ending their season are going to be a little more speedier than us right now. So that's just cool for me to see, because I hope that like when I get ready for my marathon, I can kind of do the same thing, because the summer races are so fun, and if you can use that as part of your training, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's so interesting too, because you think an elite athlete is going to show up and like put it all out there every single
Yeah,
race, but everybody's strategy is a little bit different. Like
exactly.
Emma putting it all out there for Chicago, that was the
Hmm.
goal.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about your coaching shift. You're working with Terrance Mahoon. Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're working with Terrance Mahoon now. Why did you make that shift, and why did you choose Terrance?
So back to obviously running that half, well, I mean, it even goes back even further. So when I was being coached by Mark Coogan and living in Boston, Terrance was with the BAA. So he left Boston similar to the same time as me and went to San Diego. So I had already known him through Sarah, Elena, people that were coached under him in Boston. And, they always said amazing things about him. And then Sarah moved to San Diego to continue to be coached by him. And then they came out to Flagstaff a couple times. So the most recent time was this past spring that we matched up pretty much the entire spring, which was great. So Terrance and Steven also have a good relationship, and were able to match me and Sarah up quite a bit. So I got to know him even more then, which was awesome. So then signing with Adidas, I really didn't have, like, I wasn't being told like you need to be coached by a certain person, but for me, and like then talking to Steven, with him still continuing with the Dark Sky group and being mainly with all Under Armour athletes, I just felt like it would be best for me to move on to a coach that's with all Adidas people. And it made the most sense wanting to move up in distance to have somebody like Sarah to train with, and all that. So that was kind of where my decision came from. And a huge part of it was because Steven and Terrance, I knew that they would still collaborate and like work well together, that it made it super easy. I mean, the same idea with going from Mark to Steven, like they still, when Mark's girls are in town, they do a lot of stuff with Steven's group. So I feel very lucky that now I've had like 3 coaches that like are all very similar in ways, but also have good relationships that they've kind of kept me on the same track, so it wasn't like I changed my training at all going from Steven to Terrance. It was kind of just continuing it over. So yeah, the decision was super easy and yeah, I didn't really have to think much about it.
Okay, so what does moving up in distance really look like for you? You ran the 10K trials and you ran that half. What's the idea? Like, what do you want to happen next?
Yeah, so right now, so we were super excited about the fall, and I was going to run some more this year, but we actually have decided to take a little bit of a step back and I won't be racing at the US Half Champs. Just having such a great summer. I took some time off, and I think we just like jumped back in too fast. And like, I just mentally and physically probably wasn't ready as much as I really wanted to keep racing. My body just needed more time. So we're scratching the rest of the year and really right now just working on like getting stronger. So doing like a ton of stuff in the gym, and then slowly building my mileage so that eventually I will be ready to run a marathon, probably in the next 10, 12 a year, probably.
Okay. We're looking at next fall.
Next fall, it probably is going to look like. So moving forward, yeah, just continuing to get a little bit faster in the half marathon. I'm not ready to step away from the track yet. And then ultimately running the trials for the marathon in 2024, which isn't that far away.
What makes you want to go for the marathon over the 10,000 for 2024 trials?
Yeah, I think that you can definitely do both as well. So, run the marathon trials. If it doesn't go how you plan, you can always reset and jump back to the track. So I've seen, like someone like Emily Sisson do that this year. And and she's someone that has shown me like, just because you run a marathon doesn't mean you can't go and run 14:50 in the 5K. So yeah, so she's kind of like someone that I really look up to with how she trains. And I think she shifts, like she'll do like her high volume and then these, get ready for a marathon, but then she'll back off and like work on her speed. So that's kind of like what I want to do for the next 3 years, is kind of just mix and match the high volume, run a marathon, but then switch back and do some track stuff. I think that, and then you just never get bored.
Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine, because you could get burnout marathon training, but if you can get back on the track and focus on that. So then does Terrance have other athletes that are on that same kind of rhythm where they want to bump up to the marathon and then bounce back down to the 10,000?
Yeah, I think that's something that like Sarah will do. So she obviously trained and ran Chicago just for her first marathon, because she was kind of vice versa, getting a little burnt out in the track. Like it was just, she was sick of chasing the times and all that. So she's like, let's train for a marathon. But now I won't be surprised if she switches back and says, all right, let's go try to run a fast 10K. Just to kind of, yeah, like I was saying, kind of just get to switch that mentality. And it does get a little exhausting, like being on, like just like even this past spring, like being on the track and like constantly trying to hit like certain times. And I think a lot of us at the 10K trials were all talking like, I can't wait just to get back on the roads and like forget about trying to run 31:25, because all of us were like just trying to chase that time for almost 2 years. So yeah, but I think that in a few months I'll be ready to go back and chase some fast times though.
Yeah, you know who I immediately think of when I think of someone who is having a lot of fun really focused and doing really well, but doing what her heart like tells her to do. Do you know who I'm going to say?
I don't know. No, I can think of a few people, but yeah.
Okay, I was going to say Grayson Murphy.
Oh yes, yes, for sure. Yeah, her balance. She's figured out her balance.
Yeah, like
Yes.
what makes me happy? I still want to pursue this to the highest possible level. I mean, was it sixth place in steeplechase at the trials? Something like that. And like
Yeah.
winning all these mountain races, like, but she's all in, but she's like, I'm not gonna burn myself out doing the same thing over and over again. I'm gonna do what makes me happy, and ultimately that's gonna make,
You
an
run.
excellent athlete.
No, for sure. Yeah, it's been so awesome to see her kind of develop, because I remember talking to her years ago when she moved out to Flagstaff, and you could just kind of tell that like the spark for running was kind of dying, and she kind of recognized that so quickly, and then kind of was able to go off and do her own thing, and then switch to the trails. And I think she's inspired like a lot of other women to kind of do a similar thing. So I will never be a trail runner. But I love watching what they do. Yeah, I don't like mud.
Yeah.
I and like no, I like it's interesting, and I'm glad that people like it, but it's not for me. It looks, oh gosh, I don't even like hiking.
Equally important to recognize that too.
Yeah.
It's so funny because I feel like, I don't know, being like an athlete and a runner, just not a professional one, but like you feel like you should be into like camping and hiking and outdoors, and I'm kind of like, I want my bed. I would like to think I like to camp, but I don't.
Yeah. I mean, we didn't we didn't grow up doing any of that. So like I've never been like camping. Like I've never been like we've never done like a tent. I think the biggest thing we did probably was like in my backyard because I wanted to so
Yeah.
bad. But I think it also depends on like where you come from. So that
Sure.
was just like that wasn't like our family trip. So
And that's okay.
yeah, yep. So anyways, not huge into like the trail scene and all that either, but every once in a while I'll go out on a single track here, and then I'll fall, and then I'll just not go back.
Okay, so I know that like obviously you won't make any decisions on what marathon you'll run anytime soon, and once you do, it has to have this official announcement. I know how all that goes, but like, are there a couple that you're like, ooh, this would be a great debut?
Yeah, so first I always like wanted Boston because it was like I'm from Maine, like New England, like all my friends could come watch me. And then you start to hear about how that course could be like a really tough first one, like you got to really work on like the downhill running. So yeah, but someone like Elena did that for her first one, and she crushed it. But also I do know she's a very good downhill runner. Just racing against her for like a number of years, she's just so long legs, lets herself fly. So maybe it won't be the best one for me, but then watching New York and seeing like Annie, I think a very similar runner to me, and like Molly, I think that like that might be a good first one, and then can always do Boston when I'm a little more experienced, I guess. But the energy at New York just seems so awesome. And I obviously have run the 5K a number of times and then have watched it. So it's like that's made me like love the New York Marathon, and obviously New York Road Runners, and I've gotten to know everyone who works there. It just like they just really do an awesome job. So I don't know. Shout out to New York Road Runners. Maybe they'll
Invite you out. I'm sure
invite
they
you.
will. I will say the New York City Marathon, people probably get sick of hearing me say this. It is just, it's good. It's a really, I've done, of the majors, I've done Chicago, Boston, and New York. And New York is just, you can't compare anything to it.
See, I haven't even run it, and just being there for the weekend, like I would agree. Yeah.
The
So,
crowds are incredible. And I really liked that course. It was really fun. Like the hills for me were actually enjoyable because it like switches it up. And I do agree with you. I feel like Boston is a really big gamble for the first marathon.
yeah. Yeah. And obviously, having Terrance, like, so he's also the one that told me that, because I guess I don't really know marathons yet, but so he's the one that said, all right, well, Boston, if you really want to do that as your first marathon, like we would need to like go out and actually run the course first. And he's like, I'd want you to see it. So yeah, that's another thing with obviously having him in my life now. He just is so experienced and has like trained athletes for all of these marathons. So he has like more insight and can kind of share with me before I decide. So that is very helpful too.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Do you think he would have you run the entire course? Like in
oh
one
yeah,
yeah, in one
yeah.
run?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Or yeah, or at least like, the 2 like mile like 22 or something like that. And
Yeah.
then, but no, he's like, yeah, he definitely has his athletes like go out there and like run the course. And yes, yeah. I mean, I even as far as like doing workouts on stretches of the course too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you mentioned the half marathon being like the big turning point for you, but of all of the US champs finishes, the trials, all the successes this summer, what would you say is like I'm the most proud of this moment?
I think it's just like all of the races together and just like, you know, and being consistent. And that was like the
Mm-hmm.
biggest thing in our sport is like there's, you can have one great race or this, but it's like being consistent and just like every time you show up, just like being able, it doesn't mean necessarily that you're going to win every day, every time, because winning is really tough and everything has to line up perfectly. And also like I have yet to win a US title. Like I just,
So
um,
close.
I know as bad as I've wanted it, it hasn't lined up perfectly, but being able to be consistent and even maybe on an off day, still finishing in the top three, that's really what I'm most proud of is just, yeah, like something like the 20K champs. Like I really wanted to do one last race and it was a stretch to kind of keep going that long because I had been going for so long. And then going into that race, like I definitely didn't feel as great as I had in the other races. But being able to just like stay composed and like finish and still come in top three on like, yeah, on like a tired body and a long summer, I was really happy with. And I think that again, and then we kind of had to take a step back and say like, okay, because we went this far, now we really need to reset. And unfortunately, I had to miss out on the 25K champs and the half champs, but you can't do everything. And that's something that I've also had to come to terms with as well. But the biggest thing that I'm proud of is just being consistent and yeah, and learning that like just because you're having kind of an off day, still being able to finish and compete well is huge.
Hold on a second. My computer came unplugged. I'm going to plug it back in.
Okay.
These outlets in our house, they're like super old and we
Like
need to,
fall.
yeah, and like the big chunky computer cords
Mm-hmm.
just like fall out.
Yeah.
I think that's really smart though because it's like so often you want to like build on the fitness and like you had such a good summer and fall and you're like I want to keep going but at some point like the return isn't there anymore and you wind up getting injured or burn out. So do you
Yeah.
feel like healthy and good about this decision?
I do, yeah. And I think honestly, like so many things also happened. Like we were always planning on taking downtime after 20K champs, and I got to 20K champs, and everything was still feeling good. Just more like mentally like really excited for a break. And then I thought that I'd be able to take like 2 weeks and like want to jump right back into it. And then I got COVID,
Oh
and then
gosh.
and then yeah, so then like the COVID happened, and then I think that like I had like the half champs like in my head, like okay, now I only have like 7 weeks for half champs, like we got to get going. And then I had a little like nothing crazy, but it was like a flare up in my glutes. So then I was like, oh well, probably ramped up my training a little too quick. So then we we're like, all right, let's just back off, forget about racing the rest of this year, and then really get to build on the strength and then building mileage instead of training for a race. So I think my body was the one that kind of I had to tell me because my mind I wanted to
Yeah.
keep going.
Yeah. All right,
Yeah.
so talk to the listeners who need to listen to their body. I feel like a lot of people are hesitant to do that. They want to keep burning and churning and burning and churning, and we wind up injured.
Yeah, injured or sick or or just like mentally exhausted. So there's only like a really short time that you can just be that like ultra focused. So and I think that like I just like stretched that for like a really long time this summer, and I got to ride that fitness for so long that like now I really have to let my body just come back around. And in a way, like I had to allow myself to like get out of shape so that I could like build for another year. And it's been kind of funny because like the more and more I talk around, like obviously still super close to the New Balance girls, they sometimes come out in the fall and like get like a good stint in, and like this fall they're like, we're not going to come out, like we
Mm.
just need to be home, we just need to like slowly build, because last year was just really long, and it was a grind. I mean, from if you think about it, those sound running races were early December, and then we raced all the way. If you think about all the diamond leagues that went all the way until September, like that December to September, that was insane. That
That's so
everyone,
much.
yeah. So I think that a lot of people are kind of in the same boat. That's like we kind of have to have a more chill fall, with the worlds being really less than a year away now.
Wow. When are the worlds?
So, well, the trials will be in I think they're in late June this year, so earlier than normal.
So
Yeah,
will you
mid.
race the 10,000?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That's the plan. For sure. As long as the training's going well, and hopefully I can run those standard. They'll keep it the same, so a 31:25. So hopefully jump in and run a fast 10K. But hey, you can plan all you want, but things change.
Yeah,
So
no, it's so
you just
true.
you kind of gotta go with the flow. But things have gone so great so far. It's like, why mess it up? Let's just get strong and look forward to next year instead of trying to squeeze in more races this year. Once you start getting greedy, that's when
Yes.
bad things happen.
I love that. That's so true. I know. Well, and I said that because I know a lot of people just ran the New York City Marathon or did, there's lots of fall races that are wrapping up, and it's like
Yeah.
this would be a great time to like chill and enjoy the holidays and take like an entire week off of running and
Yeah.
just like, yeah, focus on the other things.
Exactly. And it's like it's so important to do all that. And I feel lucky that even though I was got to race all summer, that I really, it's also fun once you're fit, because then you're just kind of like maintaining fitness. So I got to go back to Maine for a few weeks in between those East Coast races, and I was training, but I wasn't trying to build fitness.
Oh,
So
that's fun. Yeah.
yeah, so it was so much fun. So like now that I kind of got to do all that, and then I took some downtime, and now it's like, okay, now we can build this fitness slowly, and then get to do the same thing all over again. And yeah, but I feel like if you try to like skip steps or don't do it properly, that's when the injuries or the fatigue start to happen.
Okay, so what's giving you life right now in your transition and deciding not to do those races and just like outside of running, what is lifting you up? You have frozen on my screen, by the way.
Oh, am I back?
Yeah, did you hear my question?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. What
It's okay, go ahead.
Okay. What has built me up, like besides like the running and all that, is just being around amazing people out in Flagstaff first and foremost. I have Holly, like I said, staying with me, so it's so great. We have an awesome group of women out here right now. Actually, Terrance and his wife Jen are out here, and a few of his athletes. So I've had them around for the past few weeks, and then obviously I always have Preston. He's back and forth between here and Phoenix. So in a way, like, because even though my family isn't in Arizona, I have a form of family here. So that's definitely what brings me up and keeps me going. And yeah, so it's been, I mean, I can't say it's been tough, like making this decision not to run these races, because I just had such a fun summer, and I feel so fortunate that I did all those races that, like, in a way it's kind of nice to just kind of take pressure off and get to kind of focus on my body and myself and doing those small things right now without stressing about racing.
Where is Preston's family from?
They're originally from Billings, Montana.
So then this is her fiance, everybody that we're talking, fiance, right?
No, not
Boyfriend.
yet. Maybe
Sorry, Preston.
sometime.
We talked about this in the first episode too, and I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring
Yes.
that up. That her boyfriend. Okay, so then what will you guys do for the holidays? Because you're up on the East Coast and he's Montana. Where will you guys go?
Yeah, so for Thanksgiving, I believe, so his parents have a place in Arizona, like it's like their winter house. So his mom's actually here right now and his dad's coming down. So we're either going to just do Thanksgiving down in Phoenix. We'll do something there if they're here. And then his mom had also talked about, because he has a sister and nieces and nephews as well. So if that's the case and they go back home, we might just take a quick flight over there for a few days. It's so much easier to get to Billings for like 2 days versus going all the way to Maine.
Yeah. What's the flight to Billings?
You could actually, so we do have a direct flight out of Mesa, if you really want to get a direct, but you can also fly just out of like Phoenix. And it's like you do have to stop, but I think the full travel is just a couple hours.
Yeah, and you're Maine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's like, that's the only thing that's tough. Like it's a full day there and back.
Jeez.
So
Yeah.
yeah, you really, that's why I feel fortunate that like I went home this summer for like a few weeks, and then depending on what my race schedule looks like this winter, I'll probably, take a break maybe in like late January, and maybe I'll do like a few weeks out there then and get to enjoy like the Maine winter and all that.
So then will you guys stay in Flagstaff for Christmas?
That is that is the pressing question.
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure yet. It's just really difficult because now that I'm deciding not to run these races, it's looking like I'll run US Cross, which is the first week of January, and then Houston Half would be the following week.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, we have our eyes set on those two races. And unfortunately, they really don't mesh well with Christmas. So
yeah. Well, the Houston Half, that's exciting. That's always a really fast race.
yes. So that's kind of what, obviously, a little not getting to run this US Half Champs, but then, now I will get to run Houston Half. So that's kind of where the conversation kind of happened with Terrance last week. Like, yeah, let's scratch the half champs, but let's, try to get fit and run a fast time and not, it's only 8 weeks away.
Yeah, it's not far.
No.
And a lot of big names usually come out for that race.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be, you'll have everyone around. So if that ends up being my race plan, I'll probably head back to Maine after that, and then do like a nice like 10-day, it's still Christmassy out there then.
Yeah.
So see all my family and do like maybe like a big dinner. As everyone gets older, it's difficult. Like people have their own lives, and I when I was a little bit younger, I was very good about always going home because my grandparents, my dad's side, were getting older, and they've recently both passed away. So one set of grandparents. So yeah, I make a point to every time I go home to see them. But they also understand as we get older and basically have our own families, it is tough to get home for exactly the holidays. So but they're so great about it when they know that I'm home that they'll plan our own little holidays.
Gosh, it's just part of life, right? Like, I mean, obviously my kids are so young, but I'm like, I have already thought about that, like, and you think about it as the person in the middle too. Cause like now in my 30s with young kids and parents, and I have one grandparent left, and it's like, you're just like, well, we have our own life here now. And as a mother, I think about like how my mom feels, us not being
Right.
home, how I will feel,
Yeah.
but at the same time, you want your kids to go live their dreams and do all the things you hope they'll do. So yeah, I mean, it's part of life, but it is hard for everybody.
No, it is. And my mom has a hard time with it because I mean it's my brother is 32 now and he hasn't, missed a Christmas. Like
Mm.
it's easy because him and his girlfriend live in Maine. So it's like we've done the same thing like Christmas morning at my parents' house for the past, gosh, I mean 32 years. So I
Yeah.
think for my mom it's a little tough for her, but then, when I actually talked to her like, well, let's do it when I can actually be home for a longer period of time versus just like coming in for like a day or two.
And it's like
It's just not as enjoyable.
stressful and you risk like
Yeah.
getting sick with travel and the stress of that and all the
Right.
things.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's why everyone's really good about, if I can plan like a 2-week stint that I can just be home, then we can see everyone then. So that's, yeah, instead of trying to rush home for like the actual holiday.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great plan. Okay, so what are you reading? What are you watching? What are you listening to?
Well, I listened to your podcast a
Thank
lot.
you.
Nell and Emma, those were your last two that I listened to. I listened to them all.
Thank you.
You're welcome. My favorites. So definitely listen to that. Watching, I know everyone always asks this. I'm not like a super big TV person. I'm like the worst professional distance runner. Like I don't chill at all. Yeah. Everyone asks what I do all day, but I just have
Do you like clean your house all day?
my house. I have appointments. I go grocery shopping. I go to bed early and I wake up early.
Yeah.
So that's like my thing. But no, I have been watching. We watched like the newest season of You on Netflix.
Oh, is that creepy?
Yeah, it wasn't. They kind of got worse as they went on. Like the first season was awesome, and then it kind of, it's like they stretched it too long.
That's with like Penn from Gossip Girl, right? Penn Badgley,
Yeah.
or is
Yes.
that right? Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. So, yeah, we watched that. What else? I've been watching Clickbait, which is another Netflix show.
Okay, I've seen that. I haven't
Yeah,
seen it. I've like just seen the ads for it.
thought. Yeah. So I mean, we have like every streaming. I'm a big like ABC, Dancing with the Stars. So
Mm.
that's right now what I'm watching, and that's like kind of dwindling down. I don't know how many couples are left, but I like that's on tonight. So I watch that every Monday.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that's what I'm on right now. And then I have a few of my little Bravo reality TV shows that I kind of watch as well.
Yeah, I mean those are the best to just have on. Like that's my favorite. My favorite thing to do is like get done the big things I need to get done, and then
Yes.
I have like an hour where I need to like return some emails and like casually do things. That is when I want to put something like that on TV and sit on the
Yes.
couch and fire
Yes.
things off, right?
Yep, yeah. So like every night, like I know Terrance has been like because like we like lift kind of late, and I was like sometimes we like don't meet till like 5 o'clock to lift, and I'm like it's like I need to be done my dinner by 6:30.
Yeah.
So like I was like so he always like gives me crap that I'm like, yeah, everyone always says that, but I like to like be done and cleaned everything up before 7, so then like 7 to like 8 is like when I like watch my show and
Yes. Yes. Why do you guys wait so late in the day to lift?
Okay, so it's all like a very strategic. He's a very big numbers guy for sure. I'm learning this, and everything like has a point, which
Okay.
I love. So if we so like tomorrow we have a workout. So like on Tuesdays, if you work out, you either have to lift like right after, or you have to wait for that like full recovery window, so that like full like 5-ish, I think 5 or 6 hours. Yeah. So that's like his like reasoning. Because if you don't do that, you really don't have any time to like recover, so he wants us to finish our workout and like go straight to recovering and then do our night session, or just do a big morning session, and then obviously you have the rest of the day to recover.
What do
So
you
that's where
prefer? Do you prefer to knock it all out at once or wait the 5 hours?
So I think I thought that I wanted to knock it all out, but we did that on Saturday when we had our Saturday session, and then it does kind of make you a little more tired the next day.
Okay, if you don't wait.
Exactly. So I think a mix of the two is great. He just doesn't want us like working out, dilly-dallying for like 2 hours and then lifting like
Mm-hmm.
middle of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you're kind of like not recovered, which
You're like
makes
in
sense.
between.
Yes. Yeah. So if it was a perfect world, I would say, well, let's just work out even earlier.
Yeah.
So then that time way, but
Sure.
that's like
Like do your workout at 9 instead of 11, or when do you do
right.
the workout?
Yeah, I mean, because then if you meet at 9, you're really not done till close to like 11:30. You're not lifting
Yeah.
until yeah. So
4 or
then you had
5,
a
yeah.
mm-hmm. So, but no, I think a mix of both, kind of depending on what the session is. So, but yeah, it totally makes sense. But anyways, I'm like, ugh, those nights I have to have something in the crock pot so I can.
What's your favorite crock pot meal?
Oh, so easy. If you want to make it, it's just boneless, skinless chicken thighs. Like buy them at the grocery store, put them in your crock pot, salt, pepper on them, and then a little bit of like minced garlic, and then just sprinkle it with brown sugar,
Ooh,
like
brown
just on the
sugar.
top. Then put the cover on and put it on. You could put on low for like 8 hours, and so good.
Do you eat it with like rice or what?
Oh yeah, yeah. And then I have like a rice cooker, so we'll just cook rice and then throw some like asparagus in the oven, and that's like a staple.
Perfect. Is that like a recipe that you carried over from your mom or what?
No, I actually shared it with her, so now she uses it all the time. I must have found it. I look on all the time, like on Pinterest too. Like I'll just like see like healthy, easy recipes. Yeah, that one's super super easy. And then I love Shalane's cookbook, so I
Oh
have like
yeah.
4 of Shalane's things. Like tonight, I love her. So easy. It's like her salmon salad with like it's like arugula, blueberries, hazelnuts, goat cheese, and like asparagus.
Yum.
It's salmon. Yeah,
I love
that one's good.
arugula.
Yeah. So she has like a few staples from her like first cookbook that I like don't even need it anymore. I just will
You
make
know by
those two
heart.
things.
I
Yeah.
need to flip through the newest one. I haven't really given it a good look yet, so I need to flip through it to yeah,
Mm-hmm.
get back on the superhero wagon, the
Anything
superhero
easy.
muffin.
I know. Those I love, but they take time because you have to like shave
Uh-huh.
everything down.
Yeah.
If there's like two people doing it, it's easy.
So does Preston cook too?
He will, yeah. I mean, he's not up here all the time. So he actually is down in Phoenix most of the week. So he left yesterday and he'll come back probably Thursday.
Okay.
Because mainly all of his work is down in the valley. But
What's
yes,
the
he will.
commute? Like how far is Flagstaff from Phoenix?
It's like
Does
2 hours.
he drive or fly?
Oh, he drives.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he'll go back in. I mean, I go back and
Yeah,
forth in
2
like a day.
hours is not bad.
No, no, no. So it's like all of my like I was just down there last week. So all of my like doctors and all that, I go down to the
To
valley
Phoenix.
to
Okay.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. What about books? Are there any new books that you've read that you recommend?
Oh, well, I have Abdi's book right here.
Oh, nice.
We did a little signing a few weeks
Oh,
ago.
fun.
So yeah, yeah. Him and Diane are awesome people. They live right across the street. So we've got to know them pretty well the past couple years.
Oh, that's so
Yeah.
great. Yeah, I really like Diane a lot, and I had Abdi on over the summer when his book came out, and that was a real honor because he's someone that he's been in the sport for so long, so it was so cool to get to actually talk to him and hear his story.
Oh yeah, everyone loves Abdi and Diane. They're just so easy to be around. Yeah, so that's the one that it's on my nightstand that I started because I just bought it when we did that little signing.
Well, I feel like I learned so much from the book too because with Abdi, it's like he's been around for so long. There are just like so many little pieces in the book that even if you've been following running for a long time, you've just missed. Like you don't know all the
Right.
things.
And he's also a guy who doesn't talk about himself.
Yeah.
So I had really very little idea about his like story. So like he's not somebody that's super about themselves, doesn't put a lot out there. So yeah, I think the book was a great way for people to learn more about, like you said, his full story.
Okay, we can finish on that note. That's a
Mm.
really good point that you make because I just saw someone tweet about this. Jonathan Levitt, he hosts the podcast for the long run. And he was saying like,
Mhm.
he was talking about how like women's running, people say women's running is more exciting to follow right now, and it has been for a while. And his point was like, is part of that because women put more out there, like so much more storytelling and bringing you along. And I thought, I think that is a big part of it. I mean, part of it is obviously that the US distance running scene for women has just been exploding over the past, decade. But there is something too, and we'll just use Steph Bruce as an example.
Yeah.
Someone sharing the good, the bad, the hard, the celebrations, her mom just passed away, like how she's been grieving that, like all the things, all the different pieces of her life. But there's this like other kind of person, right? We'll give an Emily Sisson, for example, who just doesn't share that much. And she's talked about this before too. It's just like, that's just not her thing. So
Right.
how do you feel in all of that as someone who is like really coming up on the professional scene?
Sorry, you froze.
I froze. I said, how do you feel about all of that as someone who's like really, this last year started to really come up on the professional scene, and for your sponsors and fans of the sport and all the things, like that's an important piece, right? What do you feel about that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's really difficult, because I've actually talked about this. Like, I feel like I haven't been as present on social media. It's hard when you're not racing and training, because you feel like you don't have as much to share. And I kind of fall into that like when I'm not like having like all these pictures from races or workouts, that I really don't have much to post. But yeah, I think like a mix of like a little bit of both. So I'm not someone that likes to put absolutely everything out there. But I think I do a good job of mixing like my life outside of running with running, and kind of just try to be as genuine as possible. And if I don't want to post, I don't post, because I don't have anything to share. So I just try to be more like genuine.
Yeah. No, I feel that. Like, I feel like there's this like, maybe some people are just kind of like, I don't give a crap, I'm just going to do what I want, right? But I do feel like there's this pressure like that you have to constantly share, and that's probably a really healthy way to view it, not feeling like, if I don't have anything to say, I'm not going to like make something up and just say something to say something. Are you there? Oh, you're muted. You're muted in your video. Oh, there, you're back.
Oh,
I see your lights.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, I think, my video is off now. I am on my iPad. Yeah, I think that just like you said, like being genuine, not sharing just to share is also super important. And there's some people that like you were saying, like Steph, she does a great job of sharing everything. And in a way, it's kind of like it also, she's like said that it helps her to share things. So I respect that as well.
Yeah, it can be therapeutic for sure. All right, Emily. Well, I'm super excited. I'm glad that you're getting this like little bit of downtime. It sounds like you're starting to ramp things back up though for Houston and
Yeah.
The January races. So we'll be cheering for you.
Thanks so much. It was great catching up with you, and sharing a little bit of my my switch in life, even though it's not super dramatic. I'm still essentially doing the same thing, just a different sponsor.
Yeah, but I mean, I truly do feel like since we last talked, like, whoa, a lot has happened.
Oh, for sure. You know what? But and I've talked about that, and it's always with the Olympic cycle.
Yeah.
You see this. You see the coaching changes. You see coaches moving on. You see brands kind of shifting. So yeah, every 4 years or so, I've noticed that this is so normal to happen. And thankfully it's been very positive for me. I'm sure some athletes have it a little bit harder, but yeah, it's always very common to see people making changes.
Well, Emily, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.